Hello, nerds! Welcome to Generally Nerdy. This is your Week in Nerdom Gaming Edition for the week of April 2nd, 2018. This week in gaming, we're talking about a new Uncharted style game called Vampyr. We're talking about another update for Fallout 4 New Vegas. Tamagotchi's a thing again. There's a couple other things we gotta talk about too, so let's hit an intro before we can do all that.
Quiet on the set, rolling.
Hi, I am Bitsy Telek.
Hey, I'm Hale Appleman.
I'm Walter Kane.
I'm Rene Aubergenois. Odo on Deep Space Nine.
Michael Dorn, Lieutenant Commander Worf, Star Trek The Next Generation.
Come and see me and hear me and talk to me and listen to me talk about myself.
Hey man, this is Kevin Smith, often considered generally nerdy, and you are listening to what is often considered generally nerdy.
On Generally Nerdy.
You're listening to
Generally Nerdy.
Generally Nerdy.
Generally nerdy.
This week's episode is being brought to you by the Hellfire shirt over on the Teespring store. Teespring.com/stores/generally nerdy is where you can get your Hellfire shirt. It's the shirt that it literally says, winter may come and go, but Hellfire is forever. Yeah, take that, Game of Thrones. You can get your Hellfire shirt, looks a little something like this, over on the website generallynerdy.net, which you can find the link to, or just go directly to the place that you see right here, teespring.com/stores/generallynerdy. Now let's get into the news real quick. Okay, so first off, ESPN faux pas. With the March Madness and Final Four stuff at full fever pitch, they tried to use the lingo of the kids, and they tweeted a thing basically comparing Villanova's win the other day. I don't know, it's sports. Villanova? Yeah, I don't even know how the things are pronounced. But Villanova's win to a game of Fortnite, and the internet exploded, apparently. I don't know, just executives doing executive type things, right? So you gotta love corporate America. Just thought that was funny to mention, so let's get into some actual news real quick. In doing my research for this week's episode, I came across a game that actually was announced a couple of months ago and is getting close to getting its release. It just got its ESRB rating, and if you've been paying attention to the game Vampyr, that's Vampire with a Y, just like you would, in the olden days, it's obviously going to be rated M. It's basically Uncharted, only you are a vampire. It kind of looks like you're a good vampire, but still, vampire things happen, where there's blood and guts and sexy things, and yeah, it's a vampire game. So I don't know why it was super exciting, but there's also a release date now, June 5th. You can see the trailer if you follow the link in the description. It's pretty epic. Like, I didn't really play Uncharted. I'm aware of Uncharted, but it looks really interesting. I just don't have that much time to devote to a game unless it's Mortal Kombat. So this one looks super interesting, though. I might try and give it a rent. Don't hold me to that, because again, I don't have all the time in the world to play games. But if you dig the Uncharted stuff, this looks like it's something along those lines. It's a survival horror action adventure combination. So it looks pretty solid, and we're gonna move on because you can only do so much on a trailer. But the next bit that we're talking about is Fallout 4 New Vegas. Yes, that's right, you heard me. They are porting New Vegas over to the Fallout 4 engine, but it's not Bethesda, and that is why we're talking about it today, because the group of programmers that are doing this, which just call themselves F4NV, so Fallout 4 New Vegas, they were apparently just going to, I did a little bit more research into how they're doing this. This will be exclusively to the PC version of Fallout 4, because you also have to have the PC version of New Vegas. Because what it's going to do, and this is very interesting considering IP law, and this is actually what got them into trouble. They just recently made an announcement. So let me back up and kind of explain a couple of things. First, this is not the first project this group of coders has taken upon themselves. They were also going to do a Fallout 3 mod for Fallout 4, but that met some interesting roadblocks because what they were originally planning on doing, because it was cheaper and faster, was taking the audio files from Fallout 3 and whatever bits, and this is again, I went in a little bit deeper this time, and they're basically taking the guts of the game they're porting and putting the Fallout 4 skin on top of it. So like all of the items, they're using the basic geometric design without any of the skinning, and then they're upping that slightly in areas that they can, because it's not going to be a complete port. It's going to be as close a port as possible. So they're taking that geometric design, the wireframe effectively, and then putting a Fallout 4 skin on top of that. And they're also going to take the audio files and just port them over directly. So Bethesda got word of this because they're in cahoots, these programmers and the guys at Bethesda, and Bethesda said, you can't do that. IP laws say that you can't just take our stuff and use it for you. Even though we're giving you the green light to make the thing, you can't use our things to make the thing. And that made sense. But so they put the Fallout 3 port on indefinite hiatus, so maybe one day they'll get back to it. And now for the New Vegas port, what they're doing, because this has been a thing over the last week, originally when they started the New Vegas project, they had high hopes in doing some actual voice acting for it, so they were going to re-record the stuff that was in New Vegas. Now they have to do that, so this apparently is not going to affect their time frame, which is still a freaking mystery to me because I haven't been able to find any kind of projected release date. So as far as I know, they haven't announced a projected release date, but whatever that is for them on their whiteboard in the office somewhere, this is not going to affect that. What that means, though, is when they finish their port, they're going to release it without all of the voice acting in it. So, and then as the voice acting is done, there will be updates to the mod, and I really dig it. There is a link in the description. You can see some of their rough test footage, what's going on so far. Not super exciting at the moment because, like we talked about last time we talked about this, there is a lot involved to modding the game to begin with, and then to create that mod in such a way that it is also a port of another game adds a million different layers of difficulty. So not a whole lot as far as what we can see for gameplay wise, but there is a little bit, and again, that link is in the description. Next up, we are talking about Atari. Atari is getting back into the console game, kind of. What they're really doing is capitalizing on this nostalgia trend that we're on, and they're releasing a console that can play all the old Atari carts. And yeah, I didn't know that was a demand that people really had. But, I mean, it's pretty cool. And the other cool thing is it's also apparently going to be able to play some modern PC games. This is the reason why I put this in here, because like the Atari console, it's just like the Super Nintendo Mini or whatever the hell that thing was called, and the Nintendo Mini, and then the Sega Genesis thing that they did last year sometime, or maybe even the year before, that has a bunch of games baked into it. And then also some of these new consoles, you can, if you still have cartridges, you can plug those guys in. So this is along those lines. It doesn't have anything baked into it, but it does play all your old Atari cartridges. The interesting thing is the PC ability. How is it going to play video games that were built for a computer? Like, if it's intended to play Atari games, like Atari 2600, yes, something from the freaking 70s, how is it going to play modern? I don't understand how that computes. and there's going to be a pre-order announcement sometime this month. So hopefully we'll have a lot more details by the time they make that pre-order announcement. But just very strange, kind of still trying to wrap my mind around how the two very, very different things can be in the same box. But I guess we'll find out. Next on the list is Tamagotchi for any of the kids who are under the age of 28 watching this episode. You don't know what a Tamagotchi is, probably. I'm gonna inform you about what the Tamagotchi is. There's a link in the description. You can see the ad for this. But back in the day, before the internet was a thing, really, as the internet was brand new, I suppose was probably more appropriately timed, there were these things called pocket pets, is kind of the category of game that they were. We've talked about it once before on the show, and we're talking about it again because there's been some developments. So these pocket pets, they came in a variety of flavors. The one we're talking about now is Tamagotchi. There was also Gigapet, and then if you had a Sega Dreamcast, which was a little bit further down the line, then, and also the Sonic the Hedgehog game for the Sega Dreamcast, then you also could raise and race and take care of things called chows. And what they all were was basically a little, like, less than Game Boy style graphics. There was a little character in this egg, effectively, and you had to make sure it was fed, you had to play with it, you had to clean up its poop in the case of the Tamagotchis. I don't think Gigapets actually pooped, but Tamagotchis did, and they carried that over into the thing that we're talking about now, the mobile game. Remember, we talked about the mobile game. We've got some interesting updates to the mobile game. So Tamagotchi is going to the mobile, and it's not just a pretty upgrade of the same thing. I mean, it is that, but it's also quasi-social media-ish. So your Tamagotchi will exist in a place called Tama Town, in which you can go talk to and play with and race other Tamagotchi. From what I could decipher, it seems that the other Tamagotchis in Tama Town are going to be just like yours, where they're controlled by a real-life person. The more we learn about this, the closer it gets to coming out, the more slightly interested I am, because that seems like a very unique take on the idea of social media. So if it's truly that social, that's very interesting. No official release date that I could find, but I'm sure by the time I go to writing the description for this episode, I will have found one, so you can check the description if you're interested in downloading a Tamagotchi. I can't imagine they're going to be crazy expensive. Probably like $5, maybe even free, but I don't know. That just means there'd be a crap ton of ads. No pun intended. But we're kicking over to our last bit of news. This is another new game. It looked like it was just for the Switch, but apparently it is also for Xbox, PS4, Mac, and Linux. They're going to be writing this for. The name of the game is Trailblazers. What is Trailblazers, and why are we talking about it? Because it effectively, and the article that I found that kind of opened my eyes to this, had a description of that it's Splatoon meets F-Zero. I've never played Splatoon, but I love F-Zero. I mean, most of us do, right? If you're into the vintage games, then F-Zero is definitely on your radar, because it's easily one of the best racing games ever. And this, from the trailer, and you can see the video that I saw, will be linked down low, it really looks like that's a very accurate description. So it kind of, what it is it's taking the racing genre and adding a more cohesive team element to it. So you and your team are trying to paint the racetrack effectively. So that's the Splatoon element. And so your team color, if you are racing and you are on your team color, then you get to go faster. And the speeds at which it seems, again, watch the video. It was very, very, very reminiscent of F-Zero, and very, 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 very reliant on your twitch muscles. And I cannot wait to try and play this, and then also watch all of the different streams that are going to come from this because it's very interesting. No release date has been officially announced as of yet. They are shooting for this spring, so sometime in the next 2 or 3 months they're trying to get this game released. Check out the game and definitely let's talk about that. Are you a fan of old school racers like F-Zero, or should we just stop talking about all this nostalgia gaming and keep getting up to date? But this one actually probably would interest you there, Marty, because it is on Linux eventually. Hopefully it will launch for all platforms all at the same time, and they won't have to do a staggered release date, because that just always seems a little silly to me. But that is the last bit of news for this week's episode. That's where we gotta end it, guys. What did I miss in gaming this week? What should we talk about? Let me know in the comments down below. If, though, you want to go deeper into that conversation, there is a website, generallynerdy.net, that you can do that. There's an email link, so you can email me directly. There is a bunch of freebie stuff up on the website. There is social media links, so you can see all of the really other cool things that I've been doing. Pictures up on the Instagram, just following random people on the Twitters and having those conversations, and Facebook. You know, there's communities on Facebook that I'm a part of and that you need to be a part of as well, so that we can have these conversations. So check out the website, generallynerdy.net. You can find all those links. You can also find links to the stores. We talked about one of the stores at the beginning of the show, the Teespring store. There is also a Redbubble store where you can get this beautiful shirt for yourself, amongst other things. There's not just the one thing up on that store, but check out the website, generallynerdy.net. If, though, you want to support a little bit more directly, there is a Patreon page, patreon.com/generallynerdy. All of the tiers are laid out, so check out the Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/generallynerdy. If you are new to this channel, guys, click that subscribe button. If you like this episode, click that like button. If you are falling behind on your nerd news and you want to catch up, click or tap that box to the left of my face to do that. But before you click on that box, before you go to the website, before you go do any of this stuff, guys, always remember, if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.